Hello, my name is Benji and welcome to Dice vs Cards. Today we go back to the 41st millennium to help you build your first generic Space Marines force. Whether you built an army before or this is your first time at all this, we've got you covered. First things first though, one assumes you're watching this video because you've more or less made your mind up about Space Marines, and so we won't be going into any detail about their background and fluff. But let's give you a quick primer about what Marines bring to the table. Well, they are the jack of all trades and surgical knife of the Imperium of Man. Even their rank and file could be considered elite, almost equally versatile in shooting at range as they are at messing folks up in melee. Rest assured they'll be as adaptable as you'll find an army, so are a good choice if you're unsure about which faction to pick. As with our previous Necron building videos, we're going to split these into those that focus on the 4 different ranges of army size found in the core rulebook. Remember, you'll most often use power to build an army when playing in open and narrative play, as this gives a more surface level approach to a unit's strength. Or points, which is most often used in match play, and adds a level of granularity to assessing a unit. And so today we'll be walking you through a combat patrol army, clocking in at 25 power or 500 points. And then future episodes will feature incursion, strike force and ultimately onslaught armies up to a whopping 150 power or 3000 points. It should also be noted that this series will not act as an exhaustive list of each and every option you have to get from 0 to 3000. You'll need to pick your own codex up for that. No, it's meant to act more as a roadmap for how you might want to start and grow your army. Coupled with this, you'll find a lot of optional war gear in Marine armies, so if you want the challenge, you can certainly experiment with shaving a model off here to get me the points I need to upgrade something there. 2 more points to make before we get started. First is that most people would play a Space Marine army as one of the first founding Loyalist legions, most of which will also have their own unique models and units that are exclusive to their respective codices or supplements. But the point of today's video and the initial videos in this series will be helping you build the core of a Space Marine army that can be mixed and matched with any of those chapters, or if you're feeling adventurous, your own successor chapter and colour scheme as well. Secondly, we'll be providing you with 2 example builds throughout, and instead of it being a traditional list and a thematic build, we're just going to go with a straight up Primaris exclusive army, the newer models that GW are pushing and technically upgraded Space Marines, but also a non-Primaris army, with the recent homogenisation of both types of Marines to be a lot closer to each other in terms of power level. This is as good a time as any to see how each list might differ. One note of caution though, if you follow this path, there are no guarantees that this line of models will not be discontinued. Out with the old and in with the new, as they say. The infantry models on the whole are generally slightly smaller, but making up for their genetic inferiority with combat smarts and experience. To help us along the way on this here quest, we're going to use the 2 Space Marine start collecting sets as our platform before we move on to bigger and better things. There's the Space Marine Vanguard set that will form as the starter for our Primaris build, and the imaginatively titled Start Collecting Space Marines for the non-Primaris list. Neither of these are perfect for our first 500 points, but they provide such comparatively excellent value it would be rude not to use these as part of the starting template. We'll also be working within the confines of a patrol detachment, as per the requirements of a combat patrol army. This is by no means prohibitive though, considering the number of points we have to play with. Kicking off with the Primaris is a Lieutenant in PHOBOS armour. The 232nd Lieutenant released in as many days that will cost you 4 power or 80 points, and it's going to give you a little bit less in the way of weapon options compared to their vanilla brethren, but gains the ability to deep strike into combat, avoiding the need to foot slog it. Although you'll want Lieutenant Dan popping up some of the other units with his re-rolling ones to Runedora. This gives him that added flexibility in a small size game. For our troop choices, we're actually stretching the limits of what we can take in a patrol detachment. First up, we have 2 units of 5 intercessors, each costing 5 power or 100 points, and representing the new Primaris rank and file, with a modular set of medium to long range weaponry at their disposal. These are the new core of your Primaris army. Quite literally, as like most of the non-HQ infantry, you'll find they'll be receiving any ancillary benefits and buffs that affect core units. Backing these guys up is a unit of 5 infiltrators, representing half of what you get in the start collecting box, and coming in at a cost of 6 power or 120 points. Effectively a stealthier unit of intercessors, giving you the ability to deploy at a location similar to what you could if you were deep striking. That contextually expensive investment in our troop choices means that we have only one more unit to cram in, that being the fast attack suppressors. Coming in a unit of 3, also at a cost of 5 power or 100 points, they're a bit of a strange unit in that they can be deep struck into combat, but also boast a ridiculously long 48-inch range weapon, and have no real want or need to get into close combat at any point. Still, you got them in your start collecting box, and they're an adequate unit, and they bring some high strength weaponry and mobility to the table. All this clocks in at an evenly maxed out 25 power or 500 points, so no room for upgrading here. But in this small size of a game, you just want bodies on the table as much as anything else, and you've also got the eliminators from the box you bought that you can be used at a later date. Overall, this pack's a rock solid core and exemplifies everything that makes Primaris Marines an elite army. Moving to our non-Primaris build, we're rocking the Terminator Captain, a slow and steady wins the race type of guy that, thank the heavens, can deep strike into combat if we need him to. As built though, he's a mid-range hybrid unit that can do a job shooting, but ultimately wants to buff his comrades with rerolling ones to hit and do a job in close combat. Moving to the troop choices is just as vanilla as the Primaris choice, but this time with only 2 units of 5 tactical Space Marines, very much the slightly inferior equivalent of the Intercessors, at sadly the same cost of 5 power, but a discounted 90 points. The main things that separate them are that the Intercessors have better base shooting weapons and 1 more attack in close combat, but the tactical Marines have limited access to higher strength weaponry, including the stratagem-based melter bombs that can direct a delicious amount of damage the way of a vehicle. It's no doubt that Intercessors are the marginally better choice, but remember this mob don't like change, so Primaris is for pansies as far as they're concerned. Having 1 less troop choice leaves room for 2 more units, the first being a 3 strong of bikes at a cost of 5 power on 90 points. A squad of bikes gives you coverage of the whole battlefield with its high range of movement and a decent arsenal of mid-range firepower. They can be kitted out to be more melee friendly units rocking an Astartes chainsword, but not at all the direction they excel in. This leaves the non-Primaris build in the awkward position of gobbling up a lot of power, but not necessarily a commensurate amount of points. So we're hedging our bets with a stealthy unit of 5 Scout Marines. Coming in at a cost of 4 power or 70 points, this unit brings deployment flexibility, much like the Infiltrator squad found in the Primaris list. Scouts across most Space Marine chapters are depicted as the most junior of Space Marines, specialising in objective capping and stealth attacks, whilst being equipped with slightly less in the way of potent war gear in comparison to their tactical squad brethren. This all brings us to a maxed out 25 power, but without upgrades only 440 points. So at this point you've got 2 real options. Kit out your tac squads, bikers and scouts with special and heavy weaponry, or switch out your scout squad for the dreadnought that came in your start collecting box. We're just shy of being able to take the venerable dreadnought scene, but you can still proxy this as a vanilla naught to tide you over, and you'll save a few bucks on not picking up the scout squad. Either of those options will edge you a lot closer to 500 points and ready for your first game. So here at the end of the road, it felt so sanitary and easy with the Primaris build. There's definitely a wonkiness with the power to points ratio for a number of non-Primaris units, and only some of that is due to their modular and upgradable nature. When all said and done though, this affords you a great start to your army at a roughly equal cost. Although if you opted for the Dreadnought in the second build, you won't have any more units waiting in the wings for your larger lists, but you'll also have saved yourself a chunk of change to spend elsewhere. That's it for the first part of this series however. I hope this gave you the information you need to get started with your new Space Marine army. Stay tuned for the next parts that will see us planning and building incursion, strike force and ultimately onslaught size forces. However, that's it from me. I'll see you next time.